Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Can you do that, please? Can you instruct him to speak slowly? Go ahead. All right, sir, you are here today charged with a simple assault, domestic violence. That is a gross misdemeanor. If convicted, you face up to 364 days in jail and a $5,000 fine. There is no mandatory sentence if you are convicted.
The mandatory sentence,
However, a conviction would result in the loss of your right to possess, own, or control a firearm. You have a number of rights because of this charge. Did you go over those rights with Mr. Huey? You need to speak up.
Yeah, of course, he does.
After talking to Mr. Huey, you've indicated you wish to plead not guilty and you request the court appoint an attorney. I will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf and appoint Ms. Summer Rife to represent you. Mr. Rio, conditions of release?
I'm going to ask the court to impose that you have no criminal law violations, appear for all court dates. The victim is asking for a no contact order, so I'm going to ask the court to impose that and agree to a PR.
Sorry, the interpreter doesn't barely hear it. The interpreter barely hears you, sir. I was wondering if you could speak loud and clear or get closer, please.
He is indicating he would agree to a release with the entry of a no contact order. Mr. Ong, I'm going to ask you just to move a little bit over so that Mr. Huey can approach and make any statements. Mr. Huey, any comments?
Yes, Your Honor. As far as the no contact order, he indicates that I told him in the probable cause statement that the victim was requesting a no contact order. He's actually hoping that you don't issue no contact order because this is his wife of 16 years and they've lived together for for 16 years and they have 2 children in common. Did you hear me, interpreter?
Oh, yes?
Can you interpret?
Oh, I barely hear you, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. He hopes that you do not issue the no contact order because they have been married. This is his wife of 16 years.
And then the new article, I said to Malaysia to the house, choking Kong, I was saying that in how Charlie, to the in how Charlie,
But if you do issue the no contact order, I read the no contact order to him. To abide by that.
That's what I do. The American, I said to Malaysia, who said Malaysia.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Based on the argument and criminal rule 3.2, I am going to release you on your own recognizance, but I will enter the no contact order today based on the request of the victim. There are other conditions of release as well. They include the following. You're not to have any criminal violations. You're not to have any domestic violence related incidents. You are to make all your court dates. You are to contact your attorney and stay in touch with your attorney while this case is pending. The no contact order is a pre-trial order and will expire on November 3rd, 2022. You must understand only the court can modify the no contact order, and you can be arrested even if the person protected by this order invites or allows you to violate the order. Do you have any questions about this order?
မေးချင်တာများရှိပါသလားဒါနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီး
Mr. Interpreter, he made some response. Pardon me?
Oh yes, he's not responding, so I'm repeating.
Oh, you need to step a little closer so that he can hear you. Tell him to repeat what he said. He stepped closer to the phone.
ဟုတ်ပြီအဲ့တော့ခုနလိုဆက်မလုပ်ရဘူးဟိုကမိမညနေဆလာစားပါစိတ်ခေါ်ရင်တော့မသွားရဘူးအဲ့မှာသွားတယ်မိမခေါ်လို့သွားတာပါဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဖမ်းခံရမယ်နော်
Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
So does that mean you have no questions about this order?
Okay.
Do you need to recover some clothes from this residence, or do you have somebody who can do that for you?
That's the court will look at the most happy Lula.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to him about that. He says
So which one in specific?
Yeah, I spoke to him about that. He has a son and a daughter. The daughter's, I think, 17, and she can help him get his belongings. That's what he said.
All right. We will provide you a copy of this order. Your next court date is November 30th at 8:30 in the morning.
Again, Your Honor, what time is it?
At
November 30th?
At 8:30 a.m.
Okay. After you okay, no?
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right, that will conclude our case today. You will be released, Mr. Ong.
That's all DNA. DNA ခုနလိုအပြင်ထုတ်ခွင့်ပေးမဲ့ချုပ်ရတဲ့လုပ်မယ်အာမခံနေပေါ့ဒါပေမဲ့မိမနဲ့လုံးဝဆက်သွယ်မယ်လုံးရအောင်နော်ပုံသက်တာဘာမှမလုပ်ရအောင်နော်ဟုတ်ကဲ့နောက်ရှိမှာဖုန်းလည်းမရှိပါဘူးဖုန်းလည်းမကင်ရဘူး Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm just the interpreter is repeating the about the no contact order, even though he's released, and he's saying, "I don't even have a phone number. I don't think I would be able to contact him or contact Carr."
All right. Thank you. This will conclude the hearing today.
That's the next number, no? Okay.
And Mr. All right. And Mr. Interpreter, you're excused. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for using our service, Your Honor.
All right. Have a good day.
You as well.
Lord. Yeah. All right. We have another matter set today. Mr. Juan Calderon. Mr. Calderon, go ahead and stand where you are there. Sir, you're here today on a couple of different charges, and I have been handed a statement of defendant on plea of guilty to a vehicle prowl and a destruction of property. You have a number of constitutional rights because of this charge. Those rights were played before court started. They're also contained in this statement of defendant on plea of guilty. Do you understand those rights? On this statement of defendant on plea of guilty, there are several places where there are initials. Did you place these initials on this document? And was that to indicate that you have reviewed both the rights and the potential consequences, including the potential immigration consequences for a plea to a criminal charge today? You've also placed a signature on this document, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you place that signature to indicate that you've had a chance to talk to Mr. Huey about this case, that you are entering a change of plea today and you're doing this with a full knowledge of what you are doing? You understand for the destruction of property and the vehicle prowl, there is no mandatory minimum sentence for either of those, but a conviction for either one could result in up to 364 days in jail and a $5,000 fine. You understand that? There is a recommendation made under paragraph 6 of this statement of defendant on plea of guilty. You understand I'm not required to follow that recommendation. If you plead guilty today, you do face up to the maximum penalty.
Yes, Your Honor.
To count 1, the charge of vehicle prowl in the 2nd degree, a crime which was committed on or about September 29, 2020 in the city of Pasco. How do you plead, sir? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And to the charge of destruction or removal of property, again, a crime which was committed on or about September 29, 2020 in the city of Pasco. How do you plead, sir? Guilty or not guilty?
And Your Honor, there's a third count. He's supposed to also be pleading to the theft charge with a 90-day recommendation on that as well.
Oh, I see. That's just not listed in the paragraph 4. So,
That was my mistake, Your Honor. I missed that initially about that. That was consecutive jail time to the other vehicle prowl.
and Mr. Calderon, just so that I'm confident that you understand this today and you're entering into this agreement with full knowledge, on paragraph 4, it does not say you're pleading guilty to the theft charge, but did you talk to Mr. Huey about that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it's your intent to plead guilty to the theft charge as well? All right. No, it is written in the recommendation, but not the actual charges. Yeah. And to count 2, the theft, again, a crime which was committed on or about September 29, 2020 in the city of Pasco. How do you plead, sir? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Mr. Calderon, you're entering these pleas today pursuant to an Alford plea. What that means is you have reviewed the facts of this case with Mr. Huey, and that you do believe if a jury were to hear these facts, they could find beyond a reasonable doubt that you committed each of these offenses. Is that your understanding?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you agree with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll incorporate the affidavit of probable cause. I find sufficient facts to support a plea of guilty, and I'll accept your plea of guilty. Mr. Calderon, did you actually read this, or did Mr. Huey read this plea form to you? All right, thank you. And if I understand the recommendation, it's for 90 days in jail on the vehicle prowl and the theft to run consecutive. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Mr. Calderon, you do have a right to address the court before any sentence is imposed. Is there anything you would like to say?
On my way to prison, so
The information that I have, Mr. Calderon, indicates that you've not been employed for some time. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was the last time you did work?
2019.
And when you work, what kind of work do you do?
Labor work.
All right. And I'm actually looking at your legal financial obligations, and it appears that they amount to over $16,000 currently, Mr. Calderon, based on that record, not having been employed since 2019. Do you receive any public assistance currently?
No, Your Honor.
You relying on friends and family for support? I'm going to find that you meet the statutory definition of indigence. I'm not going to impose any fines or costs in this case, Mr. Calderon. Mr. Calderon, is it a drug problem?
I think it's a mental problem.
Mental problem?
Mental, yeah.
There are some resources that you will be able to take advantage of in the Department of Corrections that might help you get on the right track, because you're a relatively young individual and you've had 48 different contacts with law enforcement in your young life. Do you have any kids?
Yeah, I have a 12-year-old daughter.
You want to be able to be there for them. You need to think about changing some of these ways. I'm going to accept the recommendation. Have you been sentenced in Superior Court already?
No, Your Honor.
That case is still pending. That's correct. Have you talked to your attorney? I'm looking, you have some history that, have you talked about a potential what you might be looking at if you go to the Department of Corrections? The potential sentence?
No.
No? Okay. It looks like I'm going to follow the recommendation here, Mr. Calderon. You need to keep in touch with probation. If in fact you don't go to the Department of Corrections, you need to let them know, okay? Because if you don't stay in touch, we're not aware of what's going on in your life. A warrant could be issued for your arrest, and that would affect your ability to participate in anything in the Department of Corrections, okay? So stay in touch. We're going to give you a phone number to contact. And if for some reason you remain in custody, send a kite down to probation, okay? On the vehicle prowl, 364 days in jail with 274 days suspended. There's no credit at this time because you're not being held on this. On the theft, 364 days in jail with 364 days suspended. And on the destruction of property, 364 days with 274 days suspended. There, as I indicated, there is no credit. I'd say a total of 180 days. To be served consecutively. You will be on probation for a period of 24 months. You're not to have any criminal violations or incidents. You're not to go back or have contact with the individual at 701 North 20th Avenue. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
We're going to give you copies of these documents here today, Mr. Calderon. We're also going to give you the contact information for probation. As I indicated, if you remain in custody and it looks like you are going to the Department of Corrections, make sure you make contact with them, okay? Do you have any questions? All right, you can have a seat, Mr. Calderon. All right, that concludes our cases this morning. Mr. Rio, question about this afternoon. Will Mr. Bell be appearing remotely?
No, it'll be Mr. Hanson.
Mr. Hanson will be appearing remotely? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I
did my best to make reductions today, Judge. I
All right.
tried hard, so.
Yeah, I'll bet. I appreciate it. Well, I hope your family feels well, and that'll conclude our hearings today.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day.
You too.